Hello everyone and welcome back to SGTV. Today we are joined once again by Dan Lewin and Gary Guest from Lewin Electrical in Leicester. So you've been on the show before where we've talked about some of the CPD training we do here, and we've also got another episode where we're going to be talking to one of your T learners. But today I actually want to pick your brains about something I saw on your website. And it was an additional service your company offers, and it was basically like a pre-buying house check. And I found that quite interesting because we mentioned before on another video how moving with the times, companies are doing different things to make their business more diverse, bring in extra income, and you offer a service where it's basically like a pre-buying home check, not the kind where if you're a homeowner and you've gone out and you've paid for a surveyor to do your usual checks, make sure your house is there and hasn't sunk into the ground or anything, but you do something a bit more in depth. So could you just tell us a little bit about what made you start offering this service?
Well, basically we offered it because we were getting a lot of phone calls, people wanting to buy properties, and they just needed to make sure that it was electrically sound. So we've offered this service to go out and sort of carry out a minor EICR on the property just to make sure that it is electrically sound, and then sort of advise them what needs to be done, or if need be, a complete EICR on the property. So it gives them a bit of a peace of mind, to be honest, and end of the day. Before buying a house is not cheap, no, especially these days. So it was to make sure that they hadn't got to spend 5-10 grand on a full rewire.
It's a small expense to pay for peace of mind, and also it could save you thousands long term. We've been to a couple of properties where the house has already been brought and they've called us in just to do some minor works, and we've found big issues which they'd not catered for in all their sums when they're buying the house, and they've ended up spending thousands more to get things put right, which they didn't account for. So it leaves them short, you know what I mean? It's a shock to the system.
When you're buying a house, it's like you say, it's not cheap. You've got all your fees, you've got your surveyor, solicitors, you've probably set something aside for throwing some paint and a bit of furniture. The potential cost of a full rewire or whatever it might be.
Obviously, end of the day, we also offered this service because obviously it isn't a mandatory check anymore. Like a gas safe certificate you have to have that. This is it was just like we keep saying, it's a peace of mind. It was.
Yeah.
We think it should be mandatory.
Yeah. Not from a monetary point of view, it's more of a safety point of view.
One of our engineers actually who works here, he's from America, and I'm sure we had him on the channel before speaking about some of the differences between here, there, might have been Australia as well, sort of to see what the differences are. And I'm pretty sure, I could be wrong, but he was saying something similar, that over there it is mandatory. So if you go to sell your property, it has to have a certificate basically, and you don't here. So your house could look the absolute dogs, it could look immaculate, but underneath all that fresh plaster and paint and everything like that,
it could be a nightmare, a death trap.
And is that something you've come across much?
I won't say we've come across it lots, but we do come across it.
Yeah, we have come across it where there's been 30-40-year-old cable underneath, and it needs to be done, and it's been done, but it's.
You can make it look nice because all you see is your fuse board, but it's what's happening behind the fuse board that's the concern.
And how do you communicate that to a client, because they're putting a lot of money, hopes and dreams into a property?
It's hard to have that conversation because you know you're going to be costing them money at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And some people probably think that you're trying to rip them off, which you obviously
that's
not.
how much it costs, isn't it?
Yeah. It's like I say, we've walked into a couple of properties. We've got a couple of sockets not working over there, and we've looked at it in depth and looked at more things around the house, and it's like, well, this is all of it's no good, mate. Sorry, and they think you're chasing work.
There's good and bad people in any industry, and unfortunately, trades, I think, for whatever reason, seem to be at the forefront of a lot of people's minds. There's always an air of suspicion, I think, and that's a shame, I think, in my opinion. Because for people like yourself, the cost is the cost. They don't realise whether you're a one-man band or a small company, you've got your rates to pay, your own wage to pay, you've got your own bills to pay, you've got to feed your own family, insurances, fuel, tools, all this kind of thing. Yeah. And it does add up, and it's not cheap, but you're not ripping people off. That's unfortunately how much these things cost.
The cost of living is not just hitting fuel and your food bills, it's hitting our industry as well. Like the cost of everything is like increasing. And obviously we can't carry the cost ourselves, we have to pass that cost on as well. So it is getting more and more expensive to get work done, but it's out of our control. We've got to cost it as we cost it, and we've still got to earn a living. We've still got to live. But sometimes you feel like you're passing on like a death sentence or something, because you don't want to be the bearer of bad news, and it's not nice to do it. But sometimes you've got to tell them straight.
Send the apprentice in to tell them.
Yeah.
Good lad.
Yeah.
Off you go.
You can do it.
We'll be in the van waiting for you.
Yeah. Have you found this sort of on the flip side? So you're going into properties at the buyer's request. Now, how have you found sellers respond to this? Because let's say, for example, you may have put some money into this property yourself. You're trying to sell it. You're trying to sell it at a profit because that's what we all want to do. And then someone like yourself might come in and be like, this isn't safe, this isn't safe, you're going to need to spend X amount. That could have impacted the sale or the price of that deal. So how do you negotiate that?
Hard. It is hard.
Send the apprentice in.
Well, yeah, but it's very difficult to. You're going into somebody's house, and that they've spent money on to get it done. Somebody else is going to buy it, and you find issues that they can't see, and there's a very fine line on what you tell them, because obviously at the end of the day you've got to tell the buyer, and should you tell the client, the seller, because obviously they may pull out you may pull out the sale. So there is that very fine line of what we have to say to them.
If we have found issues in the past, most of the people, the sellers, are unaware of the issues anyway. Yeah. It's not like they're thinking, like, they don't look at that kind of thing. It's like they're unaware that there's some issues sometimes. Because a lot of electricity, you can't see it. You know what I mean? All you see is like a socket on the wall or a light switch or a light fitting.
Yeah, you'll walk into a property and there's an old rewirable fuse board and they think it's perfect. And you know for a fact that it's not perfect. There's never been a problem with that for donkey's years. So.
And the thing is, though, it may not have been a problem for donkey's years, but people are putting more load on their house now. Exactly, you've got more high-powered ovens, washing machines, EV chargers. Everyone's got a laptop or a phone charger. It's not like it was when you just had a couple of sockets, 45 amp fuse or whatever on your oven. It's a lot more strenuous now. The population's growing.
Yeah.
Houses are popping up everywhere. That's pulling more strain, and sooner or later
something's got to give.
Yeah, and maybe legislation is the way to go. Maybe something like this is something that needs brought up more. I
think there needs to be a conversation about it, at least, to be honest, because, like I say, if you're doing it for gas, which is, everyone agrees you need to do it with gas, electricity is just as dangerous as what gas is, so I don't understand how they can differentiate the two, because they're both dangerous.
Yeah, and they're both often working side by side, hand in hand.
Yeah.
So if one goes, you want both to be safe, don't you?
Exactly.
Definitely.
Do you offer multiple tiers in this? I know from experience when you're buying a house, you surveyor, it used to be something like 3 tiers. One, I don't know, 100 quid, 200 quid, they basically drive, that house exists, you know. The next one, they might look around, there's a bit of flashing that needs doing. Third one, they'll be looking in lofts and carpets and wall spaces and things like that. So do you do something similar, or with it being a budding part of your business, is it something you're looking to grow?
It is something that we're looking to grow.
We'd carry out the same test.
Apart from, without ripping walls apart, it is awkward to say, but obviously we'll take sockets off, we'll take light switches off, we'll take light fittings down if they're accessible. We can try and get into lofts and stuff, but we'll definitely the one thing that we definitely check is the we do a visual inspection of the network, and then we check the consumer unit is the one thing that we definitely do a good check on.
And do you find that because you're going to be getting involved with landlords as well, does that lead on to more work because then that landlord might have properties that need EICRs?
It has done. It has done. Very far and few between, but it has done.
It's still a lead, isn't it?
Yeah.
It is, yeah.
As we spoke about in the previous episode, you're opening your doors to certain, whether it's smart tech, these kind of things, it is bringing in more business, and you have that domino effect, don't you? It's always word of mouth.
Yeah.
If you've done one property for one landlord, he might have multiple properties, he might know other landlords. It's all ways and means of bringing in that extra business.
You can't beat word of mouth.
No.
Yeah.
That's our best source of clients, isn't it?
We've had a few. I've had a majority of the phone calls that we've had this week have been word of mouth or friends and family.
Which looks good on us as well, because like obviously people are happy with what we're doing as well. So
Yeah,
I think nice to be recommended.
It's also that trust element that we spoke about before. If it's one thing looking someone up on internet, social media, and you're almost a cold call there because they don't know you, you don't know them, you don't know whether they're going to pay,
true.
They don't know whether you're going to rip them off. Not that you would, or anyone really in the industry, because it's, I think a very good professional industry. But if you're dealing with someone you've done their friend's house, their sister's house, whatever, you've almost gained a bit of trust there. So it's almost like, okay, right, we're both at ease then. I know you pay, I know you do a good job. And like you say, word of mouth, it's one of the best things you can have for your business.
Yeah, totally agree.
Dan and Gary, I want to thank you again for joining us here in the studio,
welcome.
talking to our audience. It would be interesting to hear from our audience, though, if you have similar experiences with doing similar checks, whether you believe this kind of thing should be mandatory, or perhaps you have reasons why you don't. It would be interesting to see in the comments what our audience thinks. But as always, please make sure you like, subscribe, hit the notification button below. Check out more videos from Dan and Gary from Lewin Electrical. And as always, we will see you next time.